and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a really unique stack of source material today. Instead of, dense reports or studies, we're deep diving into a set of dialogue excerpts. And these aren't just any conversations. They're like these little snapshots taken at a critical point of inflection for several people after a massive shared crisis.
And that's the real gold in this material, isn't it? We get a shortcut to understanding how that kind of forced vulnerability, in this case, a really intense illness that's had them laid up since Sunday, how that acts as a catalyst for just radical clarity.
Right.
When you're physically unable to keep up with your routines, all the difficult life decisions you've been putting off, they suddenly bubble right up to the surface.
Absolutely. And the first little nuggets we get are them finally getting better. We hear about Paul sort of nibbling on some noodles. Josh is finally feeling well enough for a shower. They're having their first proper breakfast. And that physical return of strength, it seems to directly map onto this new mental willingness to make some huge life-altering decisions.
Well, think about it. They've had days of forced silence, probably high fevers, and absolutely no way to distract themselves. That stillness is just so crucial. They went from this state of chaos and, physical distress to this moment of shared, clear-headed recovery, and boom. Immediately, 4 major life shifts get put into motion.
So our mission today is to track those shifts in their relationships, their personal plans, and even their commitment to their community, to really understand that pattern of how a crisis can breed clarity.
Yeah.
Let's start with the one who was maybe the most emotionally tangled up in all this, Josh.
Right, Josh.
His friends, Lily and Paul, they seem really, really invested in what happens with his relationship. The whole thing kicks off when Lily asks about his girlfriend, Nina.
And how her physics event went. And that one question, it just pulls the thread on this huge relational problem.
Yeah.
The source material shows that Nina just didn't show up at all, even though she knew Josh was seriously ill and how much that performance meant to him.
And this wasn't just like a missed date. This was a complete lack of support during a really serious health crisis.
And this is where it gets interesting. Paul and Lily, they do not mince words.
Not at all.
They confront him. They point out that he talks about Nina like a fan, not like a real partner. And Josh, he doesn't even argue.
No, he admits it. He says she's captivating. And he describes her on stage as like magical. But is that a relationship?
That is the crux of the issue. Josh has been confusing his admiration for her with, actual commitment. He was so drawn to this magnetic personality, this performer, that he let her treat him less like a boyfriend and more like
staff?
An auxiliary staff member, yeah. A financial and emotional resource she could just use when she needed it.
It's that moment of recognition, isn't it? He finally connects that star quality to the reality of her behavior, which he sums up so perfectly as just a pile of grief. He realizes that if he's actually her boyfriend, he deserves real support, not just the privilege of being in her orbit.
And you get a real sense of the stakes when you see how committed he was before this. I mean, he wasn't just tagging along. He was seriously thinking about bankrolling the band.
And trailing around after them on tour, that's a massive financial and life commitment.
All based on infatuation, really. And the illness just yanked him back from what could have been a huge mistake.
Exactly. The crisis gave him more than just clarity. It was like it gave him immunity from the immediate pull of her personality.
Because he couldn't go to her.
He was physically unable to, which forced him to think rationally for maybe the first time about this. And the decision he makes is incredibly firm.
He is done. He says he's going to see Nina and lay it on the line. She has to step up and start to behave like a proper girlfriend, giving as much as she gets.
And if she doesn't?
He walks. And this isn't just him giving up. It's a calculated, healthy ultimatum. He is defining his terms for the first time.
You can just feel the relief coming from his friends in the dialogue. Paul says, "That's my boy." It's the validation they needed, right? To know he's finally putting himself first.
Yeah. And Josh even says that making that hard choice immediately made him feel physically better.
It's the definition of an emotional weight being lifted. It just reminds you that so often the stress of avoiding a hard decision is actually worse than the decision itself.
He shed that role of fan and he stepped into being a person with, self-respect.
It's incredible how quickly Josh went from crisis to clear boundaries in his relationships, but he wasn't the only one doing a complete 180.
No.
Let's shift gears to Lily and Paul, because their breakthroughs were less about other people and more personal and logistical.
Right. If Josh was solving a problem someone else put on him, Lily and Paul were tackling these self-imposed constraints.
Lily, Dr. Peretta, had this massive year-long trip to Australia planned. It was basically a geographical solution to an emotional problem, wasn't it?
It seems that way. And undoing a year-long plan, tickets bought, expectations set, that's a huge thing to unravel.
So what are the big moves she makes?
It's massive, but she pivots instantly. She announces, and you can hear the satisfaction in her voice, that she is bidding off Mason the Muppet.
So the main, maybe unhealthy emotional reason for the trip is just gone.
Poof, gone. And the practical result of that is huge for the whole household. She cuts the trip way down, from a year to maybe a few weeks, a month maybe?
Which means she stays on as a housemate. That solves their problem of finding a new tenant and gives the whole group some instant stability.
And this is more than just changing a flight. It's a shift in her whole motivation. She directly credits Josh's earlier comment that she might be running away. And the illness, that forced inactivity, made her confront that truth. She realized the year away wasn't really about adventure, it was about escape.
She sounds so much more grounded now. She's still going to see Kyra in Perth and travel a bit, but the end point is clear. She's coming back. And she even mentions wanting to talk to Dane about that Whitting job.
Exactly. The trip transformed from this sort of indefinite flight into a focused sabbatical.
There's a real symmetry there. Just like Josh, she realized she was living passively, reacting to a bad breakup, and now she's proactively choosing a path based on what she actually wants.
And Paul's breakthrough is just as targeted. But his problem was purely internal, a driving phobia.
Right. And when Lily, in her newfound stability, offers to give him lessons, he turns her down.
Yeah, he mentions her impatience, which is maybe fair, but it's really about his nerves.
And we have to remember what a huge constraint a driving phobia is. It's not just anxiety, it's a real barrier to independence, to jobs, to everything.
And for years, this phobia has just been this passive, debilitating thing in his life. But his solution, which he researched while he was literally stuck in bed.
Introducing the Archer's Mug, where elegance meets everyday comfort. Crafted from premium white ceramic, designed with vibrant peekaboo colors inside, simple, modern, and stylish. Start your day the Archer's way, with warmth, familiarity, and the comfort of voices you've come to love. As the stories unfold on the Archers, let this mug become part of your daily ritual, a small reminder of life in Ambridge. Practical for every home, dishwasher and microwave safe. Available in 2 sizes, 11 ounces and 15 ounces, designed to fit your lifestyle. Enjoy your favorite drink in a mug that connects you to Britain's most beloved countryside story, The Archers. For more information and to order your very own The Archers mug, follow the link below and make it part of your daily routine.
It's just brilliant.
It really is. He didn't just decide to face his fear, he found a highly specialized strategic solution.
He found a driving instructor in Holland who works with nervous students. But here's the key part, the thing that makes it so smart. The instructor is also a qualified hypnotherapist.
I love that. So he'll get sessions for the nerves that work hand in hand with the driving lessons.
It's such a high-level move. He recognized that just trying harder wasn't going to cut it. He needed a solution that addressed both the physical skill and the psychological barrier.
The crisis forced him out of paralysis and into planning.
Absolutely. We're seeing this clear pattern emerge. The illness stripped away their ability to maintain the status quo. Josh couldn't keep up the illusion of his relationship, Lily couldn't maintain the fiction of running away, and Paul couldn't keep using the excuse of being too scared to find proper help.
Everything moved from this blurry ambiguity to decisive action. Speaking of decisive action, let's talk about the physical state of their house, because there was a very real external threat on the horizon.
Landlord. Shula.
He was visiting the next day, and the house was, understandably, a total disaster area.
The anxiety is just palpable in the dialogue. They're describing the kitchen and sitting room as awful, and then Josh just says, if this was my house, I'd evict a lot of us.
Oh, I think we've all been there after a bad flu, where the state of the kitchen is a source of, existential dread.
Yeah, they're completely paralyzed by it. But then this little moment of grace arrives in the form of their neighbor, Leonard.
And Leonard, bless him, shows up for a reason they've completely forgotten about. It's his birthday.
And instead of being annoyed or criticizing the mess, he gives them exactly what they need, which is perspective. He tells them, just postpone the cleaning for an hour.
His advice is just so restorative. He says it's a beautiful day, you need fresh air, you need to rehydrate. He gets them to take a slow walk down to the ball, the pub.
For a small celebration, which turns into toasting Louie's birthday, even though they're all just drinking lemonade. It's such a powerful little example of community support, taking priority over these daunting tasks.
It really is. And this brings us to the most significant realization about place and belonging, which concerns Azra and Akram.
A thread running parallel to all of this. They've been debating moving their family back to Pakistan, a move driven mostly by Akram's dream.
And Akram's revelation is just profoundly honest. He tells Azra he was taking the long way home from the shop just thinking, and he's having second thoughts. He admits he had been too focused on me and his pipe dream of farming.
It's actually heartbreaking when you hear it. He admits he was so locked onto his own vision that he never stopped to ask the most important question. What does my family actually want? Where are they happy?
He was planning an escape based on a personal ambition, not on the reality of their life right now.
The crisis forced him to look outward. He starts focusing on his family's happiness. His kids have good friends, and more importantly, he's seen how deeply Azra has committed to the community.
He mentions her work at the local practice.
He's incredibly humbled by it. He even suggests that something she did at the practice might have recently saved someone's life. I mean, that's not casual involvement, that's deep life-affirming integration.
He realizes Azra has put down these really valuable roots that are worth more than his, theoretical field of crops.
And his conclusion is so simple and resonant. The grass isn't always greener. He accepts the farming ambition might have been a fantasy, and that he can get his fix of the outdoors from an allotment.
He explicitly chooses belonging and family stability over his own geographical ambition.
And Azra's reaction in the material, it really suggests this was the moment she had been waiting for. The family's whole future was hanging in the balance, and now it's settled.
And if Akram needed any more proof that Ambridge was where they belonged, it arrived in the form of a clean kitchen.
Yeah, that's a great moment.
He and Azra get back to the house to find it miraculously spotless and so tidy.
The relief they feel is just immense.
Yeah.
And the reveal is so charming. It was Leonard on his birthday, along with his wife Joy. They were the secret cleaning crew.
They got the house ready for the landlord's visit. That physical relief of a clean house, it just perfectly mirrors the emotional relief of all these settled decisions.
And that one act of service, it just solidifies everything Akram had just realized. Community isn't just the people you see at the shop. It's the people who show up and clean your disgusting kitchen when you're too sick to do it yourself. It's the ultimate proof point.
It's the moment where his internal decision to stay is validated by this external proof of the community's worth. And Akram makes that final commitment, not just with words, but with an action. He suggests a family outing to the big Christmas light switch on around the village green.
Right, with a band and refreshments. It's a move from isolated family crisis into active community participation.
And he says the line that really summarizes this whole deep dive, and it's all about identity.
I just feel you and the children belong in Ambridge now, which means that I do too.
The stability isn't tied to the geography or the land, it's tied to the network of people who supported them when they were at their most vulnerable.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We saw a single shared crisis and illness act as this radical catalyst for 4 huge positive life decisions. The main takeaway isn't really about Josh or Lily specifically, but about the pattern of radical clarity.
Right. Every one of these characters shed a sort of passive reactive identity for a new proactive one.
The learner takeaway here is undeniable, I think. The illness just stripped away their ability to pretend or avoid.
Those moments of forced vulnerability, whether it's an illness or some other constraint, they provide the distance and the quiet you need to get genuine clarity on your life, on your relationships. When all the noise stops, you can finally hear what actually matters.
And the source material ends with that invitation to the community event, the Christmas light switch on. And that transition from this profound personal crisis to an active communal celebration, it raises an interesting question for you to mull over.
Yeah.
Is the feeling of belonging really less about where you're from and much, much more about who you choose to show up for, and who, in turn, chooses to show up for you.
So what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the arches. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep. That's,
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
yep. That's the bull bar. That's.
This one.
Yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever